Hey, how's it going? I know. Crazy hectic, right? Well, sit back and relax and welcome to the Mom and Pop Spot. Help me welcome my dad and the host of the show, St. Patrick.
Welcome, parents, to episode number 11 on the Mom and Pop Spot podcast, and be the first episode where we're going live. Welcome to all my parents, my nanas, my tatas, the subscribers, supporters, and all my parents holding it together in this crazy world. We have a cool, feel good type of episode for you today. Today's guest, I'm excited to bring you a guy I watched his journey on 60 Days In. His journey was to experience what his son may have experienced within the walls of prison. A father move that I deeply respect and honor. So please show some love to Johnny Ramirez to the show. How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you.
I'm excited to have you today, so I appreciate you coming down.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. How many kids do you have today?
I actually have 3 kids.
Yeah.
My son that's locked up in prison.
Uh-huh.
My stepson that I raised since he was 3 months, and he is now 27 or 28.
Yeah.
And my daughter, with me, my wife, she's 26.
Nice. What's easier?
The girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's dope because you actually get a little bit of all sides. You got your son, you got your daughter, and you got the stepchild.
Yeah.
So that's really dope.
Yeah, definitely.
Can you explain what was 60 Days In and why you decided to do the experiment?
The show is they A&E puts about 7 individuals that never been to jail into a system where it needs fixing. It's a lot of corruption and stuff inside the system, and they want to put us on the covers so we can find out why the system is failing.
Yeah.
And everybody usually has a purpose behind it.
Yeah.
And the purpose, at least my purpose, was my son is in prison for 12 years.
Yeah.
And so that's why I volunteered to go to jail.
Yeah. Speaking of 60 Days In, I also wanted to, just to pay my respects and stuff like that because it's Nate's was it I can't remember if it was his birthday or his tribute.
Yeah, it's his birthday yesterday. Yesterday was his birthday.
And that was hard just to hear and stuff like that, just as a viewer who's watched all the episodes and everything else. And
Absolutely.
He was a stand-up person. It wasn't like, a few of the other cast members. You're just like, man. Because there was some that were on there, they were just annoying.
Yeah.
watch.
Nate did 2 seasons back to back, and he definitely is one to remember. But yeah, yesterday was his birthday, and then his passing was on Halloween.
Yeah. So I do want to
day.
make sure that we give him his
Thank you.
respect and stuff like that.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah. And I have to ask, how was the food? What did they give you the same food as the inmates, or did they, kind of spice it up a little bit?
Oh no, like same food, same everything. I mean, the whole idea of the show also is just to get that whole experience of it.
Right.
So a lot of cats in there will teach you how to, like put chips into different things and put different flavor into different of the bland food. But it's just like your nana, your tata cooking something, or your tío comes over there and puts a little too much salt, or doesn't put no salt at all, and it's just bland. It's just really gross food.
Yeah. And then before we get into the questions, I wanted to have some fun with a couple of funner questions. What's your addiction of choice?
My addiction of choice,
Yeah.
as far as like alcohol.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is it? It's I guess in a sense it's kind of like a trick question. What's your addiction of choice?
Well, I bartended for a very long time, so I used to drink a lot, but I don't it changes, I think. It depends on where I'm at. I do enjoy drinking still, but my body doesn't.
Yeah.
And I do have to admit that, or I do have to say that addiction can be really anything nowadays.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So even as a bartender, I loved to drink,
Yeah.
but I didn't have to.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
So it always has been a choice. I have never been like, oh my God, I just can't wait to have a drink. Like, right. But
Yeah.
I like to do it because it's fun, it's social,
Yeah.
it's relaxing. Lately I've been doing microdoses. For healing purposes, not
Right.
to get messed up, but more of like a relaxation, a time of reflecting.
Yeah.
It's really been awesome, actually.
Mine is Dr. Pepper and chicken burritos. I just cannot, say no. It's my bad.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Just a little bit of alcohol, take the edge away. Not no everyday drinker, but I don't see how people could do it. The older you get,
it's
the worse.
hard.
Yeah. So
your body does not recover the way it did
don't.
when you're in your 20s or 30s.
It's so easy. It's so easy to bounce back at that time.
Absolutely.
What do you think about these pranks that these kids are doing nowadays? Pretty much all over now. These TikTok videos, these YouTube videos where these kids are just doing these stupid pranks.
Oh man, I have a hard time with that. The pranks. A lot of people don't respect their bodies.
Yeah.
Don't respect elders. They don't have morals behind it. It's just they just want to get the views, the reaction off people,
right?
And it's not even funny. It's actually dangerous, and the stuff. And they're not thinking about others; they're just thinking about themselves,
right?
So it's sad, but we, as America, we watch it too. People
feed into it,
and we watch it, and so it goes round and round. So
I was trying to do this study because I had seen something that where it was a lot of the and I might be wrong, so don't get on my case on it, but there was some country that came out, and I want to say it was something like China or something like that. They were purposely putting these videos out for us to do it, and they were doing something on the other side to make themselves smarter. And I mean, I'm looking at today's society. I'm like, yeah, we're definitely we're getting dumber because of the fact that we're following these trends. We're feeding into a lot of the stupidness and the stereotypes and everything else. So that part was crazy. And I did want to point out that actually no, I didn't. I already messed up on my first live, so I apologize. What advice would you offer for them?
It's okay to do your pranks, as long as it doesn't harm anybody's feelings, anybody's just remember who you are. Don't change for the world. Just remember and stay true to who you are.
Right.
Because if you change for the world, then you get caught up in that, and it's not you all of a sudden. The world will take you and change you.
Yeah.
So if you stay true to who you are, and that's why people like you, then you got to be who you are. It's just like your show. If the mom and pop spot takes off, and then all of a sudden you get grasped into something else that other radio stations are doing or other podcasters are doing, and then all of a sudden you lose your viewers because you're going a different way,
right?
So that I think you just got to stay true to who you are, and people will keep tuning in.
And I'm trying. It's just a matter of just trying to get people to say, "Hey, give me a chance. Let's have a dope conversation about parent life. That there's no real rule book on it. Let's just conversate. Let's just help each other. In the process of the community."
Yeah. I think too, we have to teach our children that just because it's a video doesn't mean it's real life.
Right.
And whatever you put out there on social media is there forever.
Yeah.
Somebody's always going to have a saved video. Whatever you put out there, that's it. There's no taking that back. Yeah. So if you're going to do something, be smart about it,
Absolutely.
like he's saying, it's okay to have pranks and, make it fun. But if someone's getting hurt or they're being belittled, I mean, you have to understand if that video goes viral, that could really negatively affect the person that the prank was on, because maybe they can't handle the fact that now they're the butt of the joke and millions of people have seen this video.
Right.
So, be responsible also with your actions and think about how that's going to affect the next person.
Yeah. So agree.
I did want you to come on the show because of the fact that I was following you on 60 Days In. You were, talking about your son and stuff like that. So with that, I also want to mention, to point out that approximately 10,000 minors under the age of 18 are housed in jails and prisons intended for adult offenders and juveniles. They make up 12,000 of the 1.5 million people in prison and state and federal detention facilities. Minors are 5 times more likely to be sexually assaulted in adult detention facilities and are 36 times more likely to commit suicide if housed in an adult jail or prison. So before we go into your story and I'm able to ask you questions, I want to take a quick commercial break because Johnny, he wants to make sure that I'm checking on my Dallas Cowboys to see if we won, which I think we did, but we're going to take a quick commercial break and check. Yeah, I'll be right back.
Habari Entertainment Films present There's Only One Name for News with Damon and Iesha. Habari Live Podcast. Habari Entertainment, a race against time. On a quest for glory. Habari News Weekly, HabariEntertainment.com. Catch us for more. Visit us, HabariEntertainment.com.
And we're back. And he was right. Dallas Cowboys did win today. Granted, they beat the Lions, but that's neither here nor there. So going back, like I was mentioning earlier, I was watching your journey on the show, and you were one of the ones that I was actually engaged with. You didn't get caught in a lot of the bullshit and everything else.
Right.
Even the fact that you had, your co-castmate, it seemed like he was just kind of going crazy towards the end.
Right.
With that being said, and with your son, do you see a new outlook for prison now?
Now that I experienced the show, I mean, a lot of people would want to say it's rehearsed or fake or whatever. And man, it's could be the realest thing I've ever seen. It's like putting yourself back in 1993 when crack hit,
Yeah,
and going into the streets and they dropping you off at an older age back to your younger days,
yeah,
and just dropping you off right there and say, "Hey, here you go, survive."
yeah,
And you know your old ways, but you've done forgot those ways.
right.
You done grown up. You became a better man and stuff like that. So yeah, that was hard. That was difficult. And back then, you didn't care if you went to prison or jail. You just kind of had this ego on you in the
Mentality, I can do
streets.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like a lot of us do when we're young and stuff. And but now that you're older, you don't want to do that. You want to change ways. And I've always thought like jail was like, okay, jail, that people belong in jail. That the older that I got, that's like, okay, people belong in jail. They need to go to jail, and that's it.
uh-huh.
And then now that I had the experience, it was a little different because I think they still need to go in jail if they did the crime.
Right.
But I think we need to help them out a lot more.
Okay.
To get them used to the new world that's coming out, because they're going to go in. My son's going to be in for 12 years. He gets out in 2 more years. So
It's a different world.
it's a different
Yeah.
world. You know how many iPhones
Especially
we've been
right
through?
now.
Yeah, we've been through so many iPhones, Androids, and all this other stuff. TV itself, now we went to screen TVs that are so thin, and it's gonna be so different for him. So stuff like that we need to get the prisoners and inmates used to, because when they come out, I think it's the hardest thing for them.
How
And
connected? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say also, like, are they really being rehabilitated in there?
Right,
See,
You
that's what
know,
I'm
right,
saying.
like when you go to prison, I think we forget as people that don't go to prison that it's supposed to be for
right,
rehabilitation,
Yeah,
but it's
it's
not,
not.
right? You go in,
right,
it's harsh.
Yeah,
You're learning things that you never knew before because now you're just around a bunch of other people that are in prison for different crimes than what you
right,
committed. You got to watch your back all the time. We're still worried about gangs and where you belong and fit in. And I mean, it we're our government or the privatized, businesses is what they really are. They're not taking care of the people that are in there
right.
because they're criminals, but
They're
there's a
not doing
reason
anything.
that they're there.
right,
People make bad choices sometimes, and it could be because of childhood trauma or the space they grew up in or absentee parents or whatever, and they fall into bad situations. Should they have to go now and be just trying to survive every day?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
That's how they get it.
it's terrible.
right.
Yeah. As you're going in, are you giving advice to your son, or is he giving advice to you?
It's a good question. He actually gave me advice. I was kind of scared, I didn't know
Yeah,
what to expect. You hear it from all your homeboys growing up back in, 20 years ago.
yeah,
But now I'm like, what is it? How is it going to be? So you kind of get scared. And when I talk to him, he it was funny because he tells me, Dad, just stay in your lane, mind your business and do your time. So it's funny because when he got sentenced, that's exactly what I told him.
Yeah.
So he almost gave me his advice back to me. And yeah, so we talked a little bit about it, and he says, "All right, let's do it." And I knew that he was by my side, in
Yeah.
spirit. So that that's how it went.
Having experienced that, how do you what advice do you give for parents to cope, with their kids in prison?
Oh man, there's so much advice I would give. The first thing is regardless of what they've done, they're still your kids.
Yeah.
You got to love them still. You got to cherish them still. You got to
Yeah. Support
visit them,
them.
support them. You got to
Mhm.
write them. For God's sake, write them. To get a letter from your loved one means that you're loved and you're missed. And when I saw that, when I received letters from my wife and my family members, um, it felt so great. Just even smell the perfume on my wife's letter,
Yeah.
her smell. It just felt great knowing that I'll be home soon, and they're giving me good spirits. So just write them. If you can give just a little bit, you don't not don't spoil them with $50 to $100 on their books and stuff like that, but limit them.
Yeah.
And because you got to survive. They're taken care of in there,
Yeah.
but just drop them a little money for their books, reading. So now they have the media where they can have tablets in there, so you can, drop $20 so they can watch a movie or two.
Yeah.
Just let time go by because again, prison's not doing anything, jail's not doing anything to help these guys. They just put them in there, and here you guys go, and amongst yourselves, you guys fight, do whatever you guys do. Just stay out of my way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, they're using them for cheap labor too now. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah,
it's like,
it's really cheap. I mean,
Right.
yeah.
License plates and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And clothing. I mean, there are
Clothing.
all sorts of stuff, right? These big companies are basically getting free labor,
Right.
yeah.
you
Do you is when you're talking to your son and he's writing the letters and everything else, is he holding some information back from your wife that he would to you because of the fact that he doesn't want her to be as scared, or is he just not telling the both of you guys certain information because he just doesn't want to worry you guys?
No, he understood that I came from the streets. He understood. We had a great relationship. My kids do
Uh-huh.
with me, knowing that that's who I am.
Right.
I've always told them what to watch for. Who your wolves in clothing, sheep clothing are in.
Uh-huh.
I always kind of watch that and stuff like that. So they knew that I can hold my own.
Right.
It's just the fact that it's been a long time since I held my own.
Yeah.
So my wife knew because she grew up in South Phoenix as well, and I grew up in South Phoenix. So
Yeah.
we kind of understood the ways of the street. So my wife kind of knew. So she was okay. She was just scared to the fact that I have mental issues. I'm depressed,
Yeah.
and I had needed to take my medication.
Uh-huh.
So that was just the only purpose that she was more afraid of anything
Yeah.
was that.
Okay. As a parent, is there anything you think you could have done different or maybe prevented your son from, going in?
Absolutely not. No. Um, if that was the case, my other two kids would have been in prison. You know,
Yeah.
it's the choices that we make being young.
Yeah.
We all made choices being young, and we all done stuff stupid, and some did it right, some did it wrong, whatever it may be. Um, there's nothing more, I could have done because if I really think and try to find out why, if, and buts and all that, it'll kill me and eat me up, and it has been.
Yeah.
It was for before I did the show. It was killing me for about 4 years before I did the show. He was already in jail for 4 years or so, something like that.
Yeah.
And I had so much of a guilt on me. It killed me. It literally killed me because I felt like I failed as a dad.
Yeah.
I felt as a father that I've always tried my hardest not for them to be in like I grew up.
Yeah.
And so when my son went to live with his mom, and my son's not with my wife's real mom.
Yeah.
So with my first girlfriend, he wanted to live with her, and he always lived with her.
Yeah.
He lived with me for a year or two, but he just didn't like dad's rules,
Right.
so dad was always kind of strict and stuff, and over there it was kind of more free. And not all free, but she had it on him too. But that world was a little different,
Right.
and West Phoenix was a little different, and he liked that lifestyle, and he was never in a gang. He was working, he did everything, but he just easy money, just
Yeah.
quick money, so
I like how you said that because I know some parents will fall back and then be like they'll try to carry that guilt.
right.
But I like the fact that you're able to, to be honest and say, like this is my situation. This is my story.
Right.
And being with that depression, does that carry? I mean, was that depression before or kind of?
Yeah, I have PTSD from when I was a childhood, and so I always took medication and for my depression.
Yeah.
But being in there, it overwhelms you even more, just because of the hard sadness of jail
Right.
and missing your kids and the stress. You have a lot of stress because you think that you're gonna not have your job. You're in the show, and you have to leave your job, so you don't know if bills are getting paid because your wife's there, and A&E is taking care of you, but you don't know you don't know what's happening on the outside.
Right.
It's just like the inmates. They don't know what's happening on the outside. They're just inside, and they don't know what is their girlfriend cheating on them? Is do they have a job? How are they going to pay the bills? Is their baby going to get fed? Stuff like that. It's real life stuff. It was a great experience, but it's a real life stuff.
When you were in, were you able to connect to your one son or to your other kids?
Yes, yes. I was able to call them, and they call, and I was able to, like I said, send letters, and one thing the show didn't show is they will sneak your spouse in, and when you do an interview with the show, your spouse is there,
Yeah.
and they surprise you.
Oh, okay.
So it was able to get that surprise from my wife, but they never showed me doing that.
Yeah.
I wish they would have, because it was so genuine, and I almost fell to my knees just seeing her. In just those little 60 days. I mean, just to see a loved one, man, it tore me up. So yeah,
Yeah. And it's hard too, because I mean, sometimes having to be there all day and night, sometimes you feel like shoot, like you kind of forget.
right,
Even when you have like mental, disabilities and stuff like that,
right,
sometimes it's very easy to kind of forget where you're at. So to
absolutely.
be able to have that connection I think is really dope.
Did that strengthen your relationship with her?
Oh, that's a good question.
With my wife,
Mhm.
absolutely. Because that she held her own, she did everything what she could do.
Mhm.
And I know we kind of get used to our wives doing that, or our other spouse doing that, but it really showed that she's holding it together, and she's doing whatever she can, and she felt my pain and my hunger for the love I was missing for them, and also my medication. She took care of me then, because the jail couldn't get my medication even correct, and a lot of the stuff the show didn't show.
Yeah.
I wish they would have, because mental health is um so up in the world. Nowadays it's became the normal.
Yeah.
So
So many people deal with it now.
right. So
That's why we're trying to always advocate it to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. Because if we're not taking care of ourselves,
right,
no one else is.
right.
Mhm.
What difficulties did you face with your son when he initially went in?
Ooh, that's a good one. The questions again. What did I do wrong? I made it about me. What made where did I go wrong? Um, Missing him, touching him. At that point, you didn't know if he's gonna get life.
Right.
For a first degree murder charge. Um, you a lot of thoughts in your mind. Did he? He ruined his life. You think of jail and prison, and a strike on you like that. You think, wow, my kid's ruined his life, and stuff like that. But you start coming out of the bad things and the bad thoughts, and you saying, now that our society has opened up a little bit more, at least to the
Yeah.
prisoners, to help them out, and we have more avenues and more things to help these guys out, resources that we can help them. So I try to look at the good part about it,
Right.
and at least that he wasn't dead. You know, it was his friend that passed away. So for his murder, but at least he was alive, and I'm able to see him the next day.
Yeah.
You know, so you'll make a mistake, but death is the final cut. You know, so
Right. Is there one thing that you want your son to know?
oh, I love him. I love him to death, and you know, I'm proud of him for what he's done. He's been in there, going to be in there for 12 years soon, and not once he's gotten into trouble, drugs, fighting, nothing. He's taking my advice, and he's staying in his lane and doing his time and getting out, and you know, taking barber school in there, and he's doing good, you know, and I'm proud of him, and I know he's a good kid. So
Mhm. And with the right support when he comes out, I mean,
right.
he really can turn his life around and have a whole second chance. There are
Right.
people that come out of these situations and make a huge difference in, you know,
Our society,
society.
right.
Yeah.
Right. I
Mhm.
so agree. Yeah.
What trust issues did that cause with your other kids?
Well, they were mad. They were mad that he did that. You know, they were mad that he put so much stress on their dad
Yeah.
and on them too. You know, and you know, and there were stepkids or half brothers and stuff, and you know, and step brothers and sisters, and they were already separated as it is, and so he just made it more distant,
Yeah.
and a lot of the pain and crying and everything that they put me and my wife through. They were angry and mad, and they didn't really feel as much as sympathy as
Yeah.
for him, you know, because they're brothers and sisters. You dummy, you know what you do, you know. So
But did that change the way that you were raising your other kids? Because now you're trying to pull them back so that way they're not necessarily doing the same thing that your one son did?
no, no, because I had trust in all three of my kids from the get go. It's just that you can warn them as much as you can if you start seeing them going off track,
Right.
and if they don't want to change their ways or anything like that, then there's nothing you can do. You know, so you warn them, you tell them, and they'll keep doing it, and they're gonna learn their own way. So you gotta. I've always let free reign on my kids. I really
Right.
have, because at the age of 12, they know what's right and wrong. You know, and you harp on them, and you let them know what's right from wrong, the consequences behind it from the baby, since you know, from them getting a little spanking till getting grounded and everything. They know the consequences of the right and wrong,
Right.
and that goes all the way up to adulthood. You know, if we mess up at work, we know the consequences.
Yeah.
So it's right from wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Because your son was in, how do you deal with unwanted time or lost time?
how do I do it one at a
With like,
time
yeah,
when I
like
was in there?
when he
Or
was in there, because the fact that we're looking at 12 years that he'll be in the system. How do you get that time back?
I
I mean, have you thought about it?
Yeah, and there's really not getting time back. It's the time I put into it now.
Right.
So, like writing him, go seeing him, emailing each other and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the stuff that we were able to at least do um now, but there's nothing I can't do for the past.
Yes.
You know, it's what it is, and only thing I can teach him is is what we know now, and
Right.
where our society is what now. Because what am I going to try to do? Try to teach him how to drive,
Yeah.
or he went in at the age of 21, exactly at 21 years old. He went in. So his birthday was on December, and he went in January. So he got to experience 1 month, if even, of
Mhm.
being 21 years old.
Yeah.
So
Is he able to talk to a counselor about what he's been through? Is there any healing process there for him?
Yeah.
no, there's not. And that's what sucks about prison. And they don't have nothing for them. The only thing they do is church. We all know that Jesus Christ is our savior, and everybody finds Jesus in jail, and that's probably why they all find Jesus in jail, because what hope do you have in there? If people are not there to talk to you or understand you, they put you away, and that's it. So why not go to Jesus? Why not go to people that are talking about good and forgiveness and
Positive
love,
stuff.
positive
Positive
stuff?
and
Yeah.
prosperity.
Right.
Yeah. So is he going to look into kind of healing that trauma? Because that's a lot of trauma he's been dealing with, the whole process and being in there, just like that's really important when we go through big things in our lives to make that space for like true healing and forgiveness of self and understanding how things may have progressed into that. I think we hold a lot of judgment on ourselves for our past mistakes. It's hard to let that go.
And we talk about that and stuff like that. The awesome thing about me going through the shows that we did have a counselor, a psychiatrist, and she was able to talk to us. They'll bring her in, and they never showed that part, but they'll bring her in every like maybe 3 weeks, 2 weeks, and talk to us in there and see how our mental health is and this and that. So, but for them, they don't have that. But I think that's why, as parents, when we do talk to our kids or write to them, we want to feed them positive stuff. We want to talk to them about positive. We don't want to tell them about the bad things that's happening in the world. We don't want to say, "Oh, mijo, I lost my job and and this and that." You can pick your battles of what you want to tell your kids, but you really don't want to feed them negativity stuff. You want to give them good stuff.
Yeah. How do you show love to your son?
To my son, I right now as he's in jail, just telling him how much I love him. I write him. I go see him, hug him if they let me, and just being real, just being real and knowing that he's loved and I mean,
I love the fact that you say you tell him that you love him, and the fact that you give him hugs.
Right.
I think it's important. I know
I think it is important for a man to do that. One of the programs that I was doing not too long ago, I spoke for the city of Phoenix, was a man cave, and it has to do with raising our young men to be men again. We've lost that, and we lost how to love our kids, to love our men. We always try to teach our men how to be tough, how to teach our boys how to be tough, and dads don't cry, and it's okay. I give my kids a kiss to this day. As old as they are, I'll kiss them in their lips or in their cheek. I tell them I love them every day, every single day, just because you don't know, and because you want to show them, not specifically. Oh, you don't know when the last time they're gonna walk out the door. No, you want, because you want to tell them that they are loved and you guys are doing great, and and I love you no matter what. If you're not doing great, I love you.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I think that's a real disservice that happen to men. Don't cry like a girl, or you're being a little p word, and
Yeah.
and it's like men should be able to be in touch with their feelings and
Right.
not feel like they're less of a man for having feelings. We're all human, right? We all
Right.
have feelings, so that's huge. I love that that's happening more now too. Like that old school, like tough, like I don't even know my kids. They better be in bed when I get home for dinner. It's nice to see that shift, and I love hearing that, because our kids do need to know that we love them. We're the base of their confidence that they have in the world. If they don't feel loved and protected by their parents, they're not going to feel that way going through life. So that's huge.
Is that how you show yours, or?
I do. I tell my kids all the time, like I do tell them, like, hey, like I don't mind that you guys cry. Just have a reason to cry. Don't whine, because it doesn't fall. It'll fall like a sort of
there's a difference.
But I try to be, as very affectionate with them, so that way they know, like, hey, like I'm your support system. Like, if you don't talk to me, you're gonna go out in the streets, and my biggest fear is for them to do something that they can't have an answer for.
Right.
And I want to be able to protect them until I'm not here no more.
Exactly.
And that's education. Educating them, talking to them about life. You can't hide life from them, right? If you're never honest with your kids and you lie to them and cover things up, and who are they going to learn from then? They're going to learn in the streets the wrong way. So
Absolutely.
It's really good to be honest with your kids. Talk to them like they're people, because they are.
I never baby talk my kids. I talk to them just like little men.
Yeah.
And I tell them when
so important.
there's certain, barriers that they'll get to. Sometimes I'll give them some information. I won't give them all the information because their brain is not equipped at that point.
Yeah.
They're only getting what they need to know on a need to know basis on their age limit. I'll give them, as much information they need, but I won't go beyond that. But yeah,
no, that's a good point. Like, of course I'm older. I'm 49 years old, and I could be your future, dad, or I can actually be your future. And if I could tell you how to raise your kids or
Yes, sir.
what pointers I can give to you, it is being true and real to them at a certain age. When they're 10 years old, you don't want to tell them about your gang life.
Yeah.
No.
But when you are at their age of 18 or 19, then maybe you do have a story or two to tell them, or even about sex. But even when it comes to sex, you at a certain point, you still got to be true and honest with them.
Right.
And don't be afraid. Oh my God, my daughter, she's never gonna have sex. Well, yeah, she is.
She will.
Yeah, she is gonna have sex, and it's good to come from a father to know that she's not disappointed, and sex is okay. It's not a bad thing, but
It's not. But be safe.
but
Be
be
safe,
safe
yeah.
because
Right.
in the Bible and God and love and sex is and everything comes as one. So but not only sex, but just everything, stealing or whatever it is. You gotta know. Hey, Dad, have you ever done drugs? Absolutely, I've done drugs, and they're bad, they're terrible.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what I took. When you come a certain age, I'll tell you. And but be real and be honest. But you said you said it exactly perfect. Though when it comes to a certain age, then I'll tell them.
Yeah, then I'll dial into it.
Yeah.
As a parent, what advice would you give as kids as punishment for petty crimes? Because it seems now like our government, we're just so quick to. It's crazy because like I guess where I was going with that is you can be a pedophile, you'll get slapped on the wrist. You go to jail for a petty crime like drugs, and you're in there pretty much all your life.
Right. And so, what petty crimes could I give them? I would give them. I think we went away from the what's it called when they have to do service out in the
Oh,
community
Community
service.
service.
right?
We've forgot about doing a lot of that.
Yeah,
Yeah, you won't get your driver's license unless you do so much hours of this and that. I think we have to do more of that instead of just throwing them in jail.
yeah,
Because jail doesn't do them, but making them meaner.
Yeah.
So we got to do a lot more of that. A lot more of, hey, you got to go to these certain classes or school in order to get this off your record or whatever. So I think we need to start doing that as far as petty crimes.
I would love to see like if we're doing, say they're drug crimes. I would love, as a punishment, they would do something that has to go line in line with that. So that way they're seeing, okay, there's these drug dealers out there, they're passing drugs. So now they got to go help out at a morgue or they got to go help out at a hospital.
Right.
So that way they see these bodies are coming in because they've overdosed. That way they're able to experience what bodies look like firsthand. And with that question is, what would you say is the best reform for kids that are in the system?
Reading, I think is a big thing in there, and not breaking the law in there, and because you got to understand, if you're breaking the law in there, you're going to break the law out here. And the rules are rules, and law happens hand to hand. It's if you keep on, gambling inside there just because you're bored, or if you're making deals or you're doing this because of drug dealing, it's going to be happening out here. You got to stay away from all that in there and just read your mind, fill your mind up with just reading and stay out of trouble. And I think you'll at least come back. I think because if they're not going to give it to you, you got to give it to yourself.
Right.
So and that's what we need to learn. If I'm bored at home, what do I need to do? Do I need to go out there and make trouble, or do I need to sit my ass home and learn and do things and be more of a family?
I used to love reading. There was a point where I kind of got out of it, but now I'm getting back into it. There's so much stuff that's in there, and if you don't like, for you out there, if you guys don't like reading, there's audiobooks. There's stuff that makes it easier for you.
Yeah.
I wish Peter Piper came out with those little coupons so that way, like, if you read a certain amount of books, they give out pizzas because I'd be reading a lot more.
They used to do that when I was in school for Pizza Hut.
Yeah, I used to get them all the time. And then one time I got it was a stupid thing. I actually got so competitive and there was another girl that was reading as much as I was, and then we were competing. And I literally said I had read Moby Dick, and I didn't. So I turned that book in just to get the book credit and stuff like that. And the teacher was like, she's like, "How was Moby Dick?" I'm like, "Yeah, he was cool. He was good." She asked me like a whale question, and I was like lying, like if I knew it, I didn't know anything about it. I was just like, "Oh yeah, it's so sad."
Trying to hustle those Scholastic Book Fair.
I was, pizza, pizza was everything because we were growing up on a budget. So
I never read so many books in the show. I'd read at least 4 books, thick books. I never thought I'd even read a thick book.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I couldn't get enough of it. And I read this. I've always read bio books, and I finally read Malcolm X, and I've always heard of him, and and thought of him, and he was but to read the book of his life, it just put a whole new perspective in your eyes of what people really go through. You hear it growing up, you hear it in history lessons and this, but if you actually sit down and read the book, I mean, amazing. So yeah.
Is that your audiobooks or autobiographies or
bios? Yeah. Like
that's your specialty?
Yeah, I really love reading about people and with their struggles and what they overcome and how smart they are. Just people, the way they think.
Yeah, I got into Rich Dad Poor Dad, 5-Second Rule, How to Make Your Bed. I've gotten into I guess in a sense more motivational.
Yeah.
But I do like those books as well. So
yeah.
Which one do you recommend?
I'm stuck on just. There's a Martin Luther King one I read too, and I just can't remember who the artist is, or the writer is, but man, that's a good one too. There's so many out there, but yeah.
I've never been a reader.
No. I've never been either until the jail thing. So
I like to I have the Gaia app.
Yeah.
So if there's something that's of interest to me, like say sound healing or gut health or something, then I can just look in there, and then I hear these doctors and everybody talking about these kinds of things, and that's how I learn. I listen while I'm cooking or driving or something like that. But to sit down and read a book. Typically, when I sit down, I'm going to sleep. I'm on the go a lot.
My first grade teacher wanted me to tell everybody reading is fundamental while we're on it. So, some I remember back then.
Luckily, it's not the only way to learn anymore.
Yes, exactly. How's your relationship now with your son?
We're good. And we've always been good, and it's even better just because you miss him more.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're always good. I mean, you have to almost deal with a lot of him than he has to deal with me.
Yeah.
Just because he's kind of locked up. He's stuck. He gets bored. You got to kind of. He gets his way where he doesn't want to talk to nobody in the world. He's just depressed. So you have to be patient with him.
Right.
So if you have a loved one, out there, and there, you got to be more patient with them because yes, they have everything they need, but we have our freedom.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I missed the most out of doing the show was my freedom.
Yeah.
I dealt with growing up poor, so I grew up with papas and rice and beans and tortillas, and that's it. But freedom,
that's really good. Makes
you're
me
right.
Hungry.
Yeah. But the freedom was the hardest thing ever because you couldn't just get up and make your coffee or get up and go, go walk outside. You just can't. You wake up into this small little cell and that's it. And you sit there and you have to wait until they let you out. And then even then you just can't go nowhere. I mean, you literally take your freedom away, and that's got to be the most worst thing ever, worst feeling ever.
Yeah.
The food, the bed, and everything you can deal with. You can manage it, whatever. It's you're getting fed. You can deal. You have people to talk to at least, this and that. But your freedom is man, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So we have to understand that.
Something we take for granted all the time. One thing that I'm able to tell my kids all the time because they're big on electronics. I'm like, you guys can't take electronics in prison.
Yeah.
You'll be in there. You 24 hours in a hole sometimes if you guys aren't acting right. That's my fighting stance for them because prison's a scary place. So I can never imagine going in there. So I mean, I give a lot of credit for people that are actually in there, fighting it, because of the fact that there's no reform in there.
Right.
It's hard for them, and I wish we did more for the ones that are in there.
Right.
I'm a little biased because I wouldn't do that, towards like sex crimes people, petty
Right.
people, pedophilia and stuff like that. But everybody else, like, it's hard because now they're trying to open up, a lot of the drug charges when we have dispensaries all out. They're trying
Right.
to, reverse
And,
that. So.
and you got to think about it too, like with pedophilia, right? That's a sickness.
Yes.
That's in you. That's
Right.
not something that,
Right.
oh, let's sell drugs because I'm making money and then something stupid happens,
Yeah.
right? Like, that's a sickness. That doesn't get cured.
Right.
And these people are in and out of jail, if they even ever see jail,
Yeah.
and then they do it again and they do it again. And how is that fair? That doesn't make any sense to me. But then when people are hurting and in pain and making bad decisions, then they come out, right? They have a horrible 12 years in
Yeah.
prison. Then they come out and then they have to deal with the way that they're looked at by society. It's hard to find jobs. You're always going to be a criminal, right? All of this
They have to
stuff
adapt
that
to
they have to
society
then
and-
work through, and their whole life gets turned upside down again.
Yeah.
And they had no reform, and then they have to learn how to be in society.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's just easier to revert back to what you were doing before you went in
Right.
and get in trouble again. Or some people don't even want to come out because they don't
Absolutely,
want
because
to.
it's a sickness. You
Yeah.
know, and they have to deal with it. They have to deal with, I'm sick. I do this to little girls, or I do this to little boys, or whatever, and nobody comes in this world, thinking I want to rape people, I want to be a pedophile. They just don't. Or same thing. They don't come in this world, I want to be an alcoholic, or I want to be on drugs. It's a mental issue that happens within our lives, and something happened, and we don't treat it. And that's why as far as I love the show, the Mom and Pop Show, because you talk about parenting. As far as parenting, you got to know, and you got to stay up on your kids. That's why it's so important when you're at the table, at the kitchen table, you want to ask your kids questions, anything. I used to pass around a ketchup bottle, and whoever has a ketchup bottle is able to speak their problems,
Oh,
or
that's dope.
cry, or whatever. So nobody else can interrupt, because you don't have the ketchup bottle. It's their time. If they want to cry and the other kids are getting mad and pissed off, or even the parent, you got to stick there and listen to them, because they have the ketchup bottle and they're going to listen, and they're able to speak to them. And at the table, you're able to share and talk to each other. No electronics on the table, and talk to them and say, what's going on? Ask them anything. As a father, as a mother, ask them anything. So how's your day at school? Well, everybody kind of knows school sucks.
Yeah.
But but you want to know what your kids are saying.
Yeah.
You want to understand what they're saying. You want to know where their mind's at,
Right.
where their minds develop at. Because if you tell them this and that, then it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard for them to understand that.
Yeah.
So if you tell them, hey, are there bullies in school? Well, of course everybody knows there's bullies in school. But you want to know what your kid is saying. Oh yeah, there's the bully. Well, tell me about this bully. And he'll start talking.
Yeah.
So that's how you talk to your kids. And we've always been great with that. And that's why I'm in communication with our kids. It helps with communication. It helps talking to grown-ups. It helps talking to your parents. It helps talk. My kids will tell me anything. Right now, my daughter, anybody, my son, everybody, they'll tell me anything, because it's just, you gotta talk to them. And I didn't have no TVs in their bedrooms.
Yeah.
No TVs. No TVs in our bedroom. We're all gonna decide which TV we're gonna watch. We're all gonna watch 60 Days In. Let's watch 60 Days In. If we're all, no, Dad, I don't like that. Well, let's all watch, and next tomorrow you pick a show, and you pick a show. We learn to compromise.
Yeah.
So
I think it's dope. I like it.
yeah.
I do
And-
have to. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and you build that platform of trust for them where they
Absolutely.
can be honest with you and talk to you and get real advice from an adult that loves them,
Yeah.
and not be afraid to talk to your parents. That's the worst.
And it's a dope family experience too.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
But I did want to point out some stats. So the youngest age for a child to go to prison is 6 years old. That is
What?
crazy. 6 years old, and that's in South Carolina. So my sister actually lives out there. It's just crazy. I'm trying to get her to move back here home. So and 7 in 35 other states. And I believe that's also including with Arizona. So
Wow.
that's nuts because that's 6, 7 years old. If I don't even know.
What does a
it's just-
6-year-old do to go to prison?
But not just that. So here's the next stat. Also, incarcerated youth are subject to solitary confinement, often for 22 to 24 hours a day. They're strip searched, shackled, and they're also sprayed with chemicals at 6 and 7 years old in those states. It's just I was reading it. I was like, man, this is
And
hard.
we're civilized.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can only imagine the party that you're gonna have when he gets out.
Oh, it's gonna be off the hook. We're gonna have such a great time.
Party bus.
Yeah.
Picking you up.
I think I wanna follow my own way. When I got out of the TV show, out of the jail, I wanted to stay home. When I saw police officers, I was scared. I didn't want to drive, and that was just 60 days.
Yeah.
He's doing 12 years. People that do 1 year, I only did 60 days, and I was already traumatized a little bit. I was able to knock it off after a while.
Yeah.
After about 2-3 weeks, I was able to, okay, I can drive now. I feel good.
Yeah.
But 12 years, I mean, no wonder why they go back. My mind was, I was scared to drive. I was scared of cops. I was scared of walking around people. I didn't want to go nowhere. Actually, I even wanted to go back.
Yeah.
I felt like my little room was my safe spot.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. And I so remember, I'm like, oh my God, this is exactly why they go back.
Yeah.
Because that was their space. I mean, you wake up, you get to write, you get to draw. Yep. I mean, this is your space. Nobody else can get into your space. But
you don't have to make any decisions.
Nothing.
Yeah. You just get up and you have the same routine every day.
Every day. And so we'll give him time before he wants to have a little party. But when we do, it's going to be off the hook.
Yeah. Oh, I was just talking about just the intermediate.
Oh yeah.
Just your parents.
Yeah. Oh,
it's
a
beautiful thing.
It's going to be a beautiful thing. It's I can't wait. With COVID, we weren't able to see him for 2 years, and that's hard. And but yeah, he's almost out. I mean, he's I think next December.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully.
In closing, before we do the next segment, if he comes across this video, what's one thing that you want him to know about you?
To know about me?
Yeah.
Dad's been doing good. What he's done doesn't strike anything bad for me. If anything, it teaches me a lesson how strong my love stays for you. Love him a lot. He's done what I asked. Stay in your lane and do your time and get out of there and continue with life. Know that I did everything for him.
Yeah.
And for all the kids, but the prison shows why the 60 days in, I did it for him. I did my job, and I wanted to walk your walk and understand how you felt, and I did. And now we're both passes, and now we continue to see a bright future.
Yeah, that's very impressive. I mean, that bond and that love is truly beautiful. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Nobody's gonna know. Oh.
It is now time for the no, the O, and the laugh. It's where this and every show we give out a random hack, fun fact, and message or joke. Today's hack or tip is to make splinter removals less painful. Put a paste of baking soda and water on a splinter and leave for a few minutes. The baking soda will push the splinter out, saving your child an unnecessary painful splinter removal. And the joke, my wife says that my salads are dry.
They are?
No? Apparently that's what she says. I'm like, what? Like, that definitely needs addressing.
Let's get now that
you are a dad.
Womp womp on the button.
So I just took a splinter out of Elijah's finger yesterday.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the baking soda trick.
Yeah. Hey, you're learning.
That would have came in handy.
You're gonna learn something from this show. Even my jokes. The message for today: you're human. Forgive yourself for the times you overreacted and the moments you needed a break from. Hold yourself with compassion and fuel change and motivate yourself. You got this. As we wrap up the show, I want to give a huge shout out to today's special guest, Johnny Ramirez. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, as an elder, as another person in my view, I appreciate it. So
thank you.
The tips that you shared with me today, I'm definitely going to incorporate it within my family and stuff like that. Where can people follow you at?
They can follow me on Instagram, Johnny.Ramirez3. And then same thing on Facebook, and I'm on Twitter. You probably don't want to follow me on Twitter. I argue on there a lot.
Everybody argues on Twitter. Twitter's bad for everybody.
But those are the two platforms, and
Yeah.
and the funny thing is I follow back. I try to make people's day. I use my platform for that.
I was stoked when you said you would come on. So.
Yeah. Because I know that, a lot of people get a little starstruck, and I don't mind saying happy birthday if it's going to brighten a young man's face up. And they seem to think of me as a celebrity.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, and if I say happy birthday and it makes it somebody's day in the world, even though at the age of 50 or whatever, they really come back just as happy as can be.
Yeah.
And that puts me a smile on my face, because I'll use my platform for that. I'll use my platform for like a show like yours. Anything to get the message across to our people that we supposed to all love,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Anything you want to plug in?
No, man, I'm good. I'm glad. I'm can't wait to watch the rest of your other shows. And I'll pass this along to my people. And I'm just
appreciate it.
Thank
60 days.
Thank you for having your host on. You're my co-host here.
Yeah. And that's 60 days in too. I want you guys to check out season 4.
Season 4.
Yeah,
season 4.
Yeah, I do want to give.
Where can they find that at? If they want to watch it,
Hulu actually.
Hulu
right
should have it.
Yeah.
Pluto TV. I mean, I don't know. There's so many things now. I mean, we're talking about that how once you're stuck on the internet and things go on the internet, it's there forever. It
you
really
can also
is.
Catch it on YouTube.
You can catch it on YouTube. You can catch it on. Yeah, I would suggest try to find it on YouTube.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you can plug in the mom and pop and watch this show.
Yeah. And my co-host today, Jess.
Yay.
She actually helped me out because my co-host bailed out. So thank you. I appreciate it.
It was all meant to be.
You're awesome, Jess.
Thank you. So are you guys.
And as always, Mr. Habari Live himself, Mr. Dip. And Elijah Wealth for Generations Lee is behind there too.
Yo.
Please like and follow Habari Live Podcast, Habari Entertainment, and check out other shows on there like Habari Live, Socially Awkward and Uncomfortable, The Von Rebel Show, and Wealth for Generations. Please also check out One Love on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Stay safe out there. Stay hydrated and make it a great day. And we're out. Sounded kind of rough, that one.